Alright, so I finally got the time to make a talent priority list, and as you can see, I'm logged into my friend's account. I manage his account to do his Guild War boss, and it is related to that I logged into his account today. So yeah, here are his heroes, but aside from that, let's get into this video. So the top three you guys already know if you've been playing this game for a while. So the first one that you should prioritize is obviously Melzigard. So here's his active skill. Not his active skill, but his talent 30. It basically allows him to live for 2 rounds, and he's so useful for story and extreme trials and even psychic trials. So I highly recommend getting him talent 30 first. The second one, and this one's obvious as well, it's gonna be Child Emperor. So if you go look at him in talent over here, so unlike Melzigard, his talent, just activating his talent won't do much compared to what getting him to talent 30 does. It increases his rage bonus, which is obviously great, and it's needed for nuking in higher chapters, as I showed in my previous video. So he's really useful for that, and you do need him for extreme trials and high-tech trials. So the third one is obviously King. So let's go in his talent, and it's just the same as Child Emperor. You are gonna need him talent 30 to put in that work, and you don't need him talent 40. It's not really that useful. It doesn't unlock a new skill, but it does increases the amount of attack he does, which increases his buff overall. So he's needed for story and extreme trials, and that's it. And PvP and all that stuff too. I should have said that about other characters. I don't really do PvP, that's why I didn't talk about it. But if you get this unlock talent 30 and use his active skill, he will give you plus 10 rage recovery for 2 rounds, which is great, and it is needed for nuking. So the fourth one this is gonna be a surprise for me. It's gonna have to be Golden Ball, and I didn't mention this earlier in the video, but all these talent 30s are just my opinion. There are no statistics, just the way how I feel about them. So this is the fourth one that you should unlock, because you are gonna use him for story a lot, or you're gonna use Terrible Tornado, but I'll get to her as well. So as you can see, this benefits his active skill as well, and I think this will benefit his normal damage, and he is gonna be useful for extreme trials and weapon trials. Weapon trials, he's gonna be the most helpful over there. You do need him. So let's get to the fourth one. The fourth one is also a weapon character. It's gonna be Valentine Lily. I was having a pretty hard time deciding who should be fourth, Valentine Lily or Golden Ball, but then I realized you're mainly gonna need Valentine Lily just for Troll Boss. Of course, she can be used for extreme trials. I don't really see her being used for that. I mean type trials, not extreme trials. And she is good for PvP as well. Her talent 30 is giving herself 1 chocolate, and believe it or not, this is actually pretty significant when it comes to getting chocolates and doing damage with the troll boss. And of course you can use it with Ancient King and Pluton too. I mean the bosses, not characters. They're not characters except Pluton. So that's the fifth one. Let's get to the sixth one. This character would have been fourth if he had Limit Breaker, which he does not. So that's why he is fifth on my list, and I mean sixth, not fifth. So let's look at his talent. It increases his attack bonus to 40%. So kind of like Golden Ball, it just increases his damage that he does. And he is useful for extreme trials and story, but you're mostly gonna use Golden Ball and Terrible Tornado because he does not have his Limit Breaker yet. I think every character will eventually have their Limit Breaker. I don't know why they're not giving more ways to have them. I'm stuttering. Okay, so the 7th one is going to be Terrible Tornado. Now I had a bit of a hard time making this decision because I kind of just wanted the 7th and 8th spot to be for the same character, but I ended up giving it to Terrible Tornado because you're gonna use her more than the 8th spot, and I'll get to that. So this is her talent. It's not really helpful for story because you are just gonna be nuking in one round, so the rage recovery doesn't help that much in that department, but it does increase her damage and of course these basic stats. So that's why she can be helpful. Only reason she's 7th is because she does have her limit breaker, and at +7 or above she's better than Golden Ball. So number 8 spot is going to go to Borris, and the only reason for this spot to go to Borris is that he's not really used in anything except Troll Challenge. I don't see him being used anywhere, not even in story, not in extreme trials or adventures or Road to Be Strong. It's only used with the Troll Challenge, and even that is sometimes, it's not always. So that's why this number 8 talent would go to Borris for me. And as you can see, it benefits his normal skill, and it basically unlocks permanent 10% damage to a single target, which is great. So number 9, this might surprise you, but it's going to go to Tank Top Master. So why is that? It's because it makes him more tanky, of course. Its talent depends on his HP is going to depend on his talent. So as you can see over here. So if you have a lot of attack damage on him, chances are you're going to have a really high HP as well. So not much to be said over here. Of course, he is going to be useful for not psychic, but physical trials. So here's the number 10th spot. It goes to this category as well. It's going to be Deep Sea King, and that's because his talent 30 benefits his second form. So as you can see over here, his damage increases to 30%. So somewhat similar to Borris over here. And of course, both of these characters are mostly only going to be used in physical trials, which is why number 9 and 10 is reserved for them. So I'm also going to have a few honorable mentions, or hopefully 5, not 8. So let's go from here. So who I want to select is Peg God. He is needed for PvP, not needed, but he's heavily used in PvP. So it just makes him more tanky, as you can see over here, his talent. And let's go to the second one. So the second one is going to go to Gogetsu, because if you place him in the front, it's gonna be like really helpful. It can be used in later story, so like after chapter 29, which I doubt most of us are even gonna get to, unless we get a huge nerf. So it'll help with that and PvP. And of course extreme trials and all that can help you in that department. So the third honorable mention goes to Child Emperor, the Xmas edition. So as you can see, it's not great. That's why he didn't make top 10, because it only increases his damage by 2% compared to his talent 20. And getting to talent 30 itself is a lot of work. It takes 300 sublimation potions, which are not easy to get. And next up we have Mycoplasma. Her talent 30 mostly benefits her and her alone. That's why she is not on the top 10 list. But it is pretty good if you do have the ones that I already mentioned, that talent 30. And her talent 20 and 10, those are good as well, of course. If I was only doing talent 20, she would probably be in the top 5 if I was doing talent 20s. So that's the 4th one. And the 5th one is going to go to Xmas Hellish Blizzard. She's used in PvP as well because of her shield depends on her attack power, and you can read her active skill over here. She's also used in psychic trials. I've seen her a lot. I've seen her being used a lot. So those are the 15 characters that I wanted to mention. From number 11 to number 15, those are of course honorable mentions, and I've explained my top 10s. So before I end this video, I do want to say it again that this is my opinion. It is how I feel about them, and that's where I would put them. And I almost forgot, we are getting so close to 600 subscribers, so I do want to thank everyone for it. And look, that's the person who lent me their account, and they just messaged me. Okay, so I think that's finally everything.